Hey there, my friend Perry Tinsley here. You are going to be in for a really inspirational story today. Martha Kartaoui. She is a certified life and health coach and a mindfulness specialist, and she is on my podcast today, special guest. And you are about to hear, chills went down my spine when I heard her share her story today. You're about to hear an incredible survivor story about how Martha was born into a very dangerous religious cult. She didn't know it at the time, and how she escaped from that at the age of 25 and transformed her life to help serve others. She helps her clients learn tools in order to bring hope and life and health and joy into their lives and become healthier, happier versions of themselves. I don't want to give too much away. Let's get to that interview. All right. Hey, I want to welcome you to another Power Blast podcast where we provide nourishment for the soul, allowing you to transform from the inside out, providing rapid results in mindset and fitness so that you can recharge that mental and physical battery of yours and reclaim your power. And as you can see, I'm on video. I'm with, I want to say, new friend here, Martha Glory, and I am going to say her last name correctly, Kartaoui from North Carolina.
That's right. Hi, guys.
Yeah. Glad to have you on here. She's got a powerful story here today. I already know the title for this podcast, which is going to be Turning Trauma into Transformation. She's got a great story here. Can't wait to hear it. I don't even know all the details myself, but this has led her to be a certified life and health coach, mindfulness specialist. I want to hear more about that, and a licensed massage bodywork therapist. Don't know if you do that all the time, but man, you've got a lot of hats that really blend together.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure. So welcome, Martha.
I
How are
am
you
so
today?
fantastic. Thank you so much for having me, Perry. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor. So thank you.
Oh, this is cool. You know how Martha and I met? Basically, we were in a group. People looking to either be interviewed on a podcast or have a podcast and looking for people, people with really cool, interesting stories. And when Martha said, "Yeah, I'm in," I was just reading a little bit about her, snippet of her story. I'm like, man, she really packed a lot into like one paragraph. And that's some amazing stuff. So I do want to hear I'm just trying to think, what would be the best place to start with? Would it be best to lead up to what transition to where you are in life now? What have you, because I love a good story, overcoming adversity and obstacles and things, and I don't even know if you knew it was obstacles and adversity at the time, but can I turn it over to you?
Absolutely.
And just hear, what's your story?
So I think the best place to start, Perry, is the beginning, right? So I was born into a religious cult. At the time, of course, we didn't know it was a religious cult. We were just as I grew up, I thought we were just part of kind of like a secret society. I knew we were different from the kids at school, or, our practices, separated us because the women wore skirts all the time. We weren't allowed makeup. We couldn't pierce our ears. We couldn't eat certain foods. So I knew I was different from other kids, but I didn't know that I was in a very trauma-ridden group. As I got older, I started beginning to experience physical trauma with beatings, sexual trauma, emotional trauma, spiritual trauma. All the shift became very slow and very manipulative and isolating. Just as most of us, if you know what a cult is, those are all very common for being in a cult, or is the mind brainwashing, the brainwashing, the isolation. And so I was in that group until I was 25, when I had to physically escape. So I was chosen at 18 to come live in the compound with the leader. That wasn't, everybody didn't live in the compound. Most of us had our own houses, but at 18, I was basically told I was coming to live with him in the compound and with the people, with the few that lived there already. And that began kind of 8 years of terror. And in that 8 years, I faced everything from starvation for 5 months to beatings that left me incapacitated with no, I was never taken to the hospital for any of those injuries. And it was just, it was complete basic hell, prison for 8 years. I worked in one of the cult businesses and never got paid for it, never had health care, never had any of the things that you think in a job. I ran one of their businesses and no compensation. And so at 25, I woke up and I was like, what is this thing my life is become, right? And it scared the crap out of me to think that there might be something else on the outside. But I had found one of my sisters on the internet because we now had internet, and I found her and I reached out to her and we started slowly talking, and she started telling me, like, I think this is a cult. I think that we've belonged to a cult all these years. She had separated herself years before. But my big turning point was I found out she was pregnant and with her first child. And I said, you're not going through your pregnancy by yourself. I'm going to do everything I can to come home and to be with you for your pregnancy. And that got my wheels turning. And the things that had to happen in order for my escape to be successful, it was literally the universe had to roll out the red carpet, had to have divine intervention, and had to allow the unavailable and unfathomable to happen in that night. And it did happen on December 27th of 2004. And I did escape physically in a snowstorm. And I had just a guardian angel that helped me to get a car, to get some money, to get the things that I needed to make my escape. And, you know, I've been trying to regroup since then. It's been 19 years. It's taken me a long time to kind of fit back into society, because you come out and you're so naive, you're so lost, you're so scared. And so it took me many years to even realize I needed trauma healing.
Yeah. You know, I'm listening to a story. My anxiety's way up here. It's I can't, and I'm just like, I'm just hearing the story. I can't even. So many questions. So I mean, so you're going through these things, and congratulations on, you know, the growth that you've done, and I can't wait to hear what's come after that. I can't imagine what that's like to relive and tell it, but I'm sure you're telling it through it from a different lens now. But that point where you're at 25, was there a lead up to that? You know, it's like, there's got to be something that changed, or there's got to be something different, or whatever. I forget the wording that you just said. As you're going through these experiences throughout your childhood and early adult life, what are there just like constant moments like, I just want to get out of here, or it's just like, this is just the way life is?
The truth is I never thought of there being a different life. Like that was just my life. I didn't realize that everybody wasn't subscribed to that kind of physical violence in their home or church, or, you know, like, it just didn't cross my mind. It was my life. I didn't realize there was something different.
That was your normal. Were you in like a public school sort of thing? You talked about some differences there. Were you in public school, and what was that contrast?
So I was
like?
in public school for the majority of my schooling. I was pulled out in third grade and homeschooled for a couple of years because I had major learning disabilities. And so I had been mislabeled by the school system as they called it mentally retarded. Obviously, that word is not used any longer, but that was what I was labeled in third grade. And so I was pulled out. My mom was like, no, she's not that. We'll figure out what she is. And it just turned out after testing that I'm just severely dyslexic. And, I had some some ADHD, that I needed to hone. So I was removed from school, and my mom homeschooled me for a couple of years just to get me up to level with the right tools. And then I got back into public school. And yeah, there were differences. Like you saw that we dressed not like the other kids. We couldn't eat school food because they ate things we weren't allowed. Those types of things. So yeah, the differences were very clear that we weren't like others.
Okay. And other people that were part of the cult, I mean, I don't know, has this been years, hundreds of years? I mean, where everybody is just everybody's adopted to the same mindsets, the same philosophies, the same practices. I don't know if I'm coming up with the right words for it. It's just a world that I'm not familiar with. But I mean, how many generations are we talking where people have also gone through the same thing? Did your mom go through the same thing?
So my parents joined in the early 1970s. That's when the group started. Okay. My parents joined in 75. Okay. It had been going for a few years previous to that. It is still going on now, and I do still have one sister there. And that has been one of the reasons that I haven't talked more publicly about my story, is because I had fear for a long, long time that she would have to face the repercussions of me sharing my voice. I've made the decision now that, I won't be stopped. I won't be quieted, because there are over 5,000 cults in the United States alone. And some of those are, just tens and twenties of peoples, and some are thousands. So if I can help one person know that they're not alone when they're coming from isolation and manipulation and spiritual and physical, all those abuses, and understanding that there is hope, that there is light, that you can find that transformation and that healing after those kinds of traumas, then it's worth it to me.
Wow. Are there like support systems out there for people that are like wanting to make a change, make a shift?
So I didn't find them. I have noticed in different Facebook groups now, there are more of those organizations coming to fruition. When I got out 19 years ago, most people didn't know what the word cult meant. When I would say cult, people would look at me funny. But now with Netflix and Hulu and all of these different streaming services doing, series regarding cults, it's become more of an understanding of what cult means. And so there are those things coming, and I would love to be part of that in some way at some point. But that was not available to me. And when I first sought therapy, my first therapist, after like 3 sessions, said, I don't know what to do with you. I've never dealt with somebody from a cult. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? You're supposed to be able to help me? Like, it was so shocking to me that she literally had to say, like, I've never dealt with somebody from a cult. I don't know. I'm out of my scope. Now I can appreciate that, but then I was devastated. I felt so broken.
Yeah. Definitely a challenge. Yeah, I'm sure with all of your growth and the things that you've done in your career and what you've learned gives you different perspective on that. But yeah, I'm sure it's like, help me, coach me, whatever. And so you're 25. What happens then, and what was your growth like? Or what was your transformation like? You've got this trauma, and you're at a point where you're, I guess, either looking for answers or looking to change your life, or what does that look like?
So from the time of escape, at first it's just overwhelming. Life is just overwhelming because you're entering society that has been closed off from you for years, and you have to reacclimate. I mean, it was scary. I had zero confidence, zero self-esteem, zero self-worth. I didn't know who Martha was. And so I made a lot of really bad decisions. I let people use me, use my body. That's what I was used to. It was a very the trauma continued, in different ways, because I had no self-worth. I didn't know who I was, and I wasn't in a place to actually search for that yet, because I was just so broken. So it took me about 5 or 6 years to be ready to say, what, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live in chaos. I don't want to live in pain. I don't want to run from, my nightmares. I don't want to run, like I had gained almost 100 pounds coming out of the cult, because like I had no self-worth. And so I gained that weight, and finally I woke up one day and I was like, no, I'm taking my life back, and I don't know what that means, but I'm not going to stop until I figure it out. And that's when I started to seek help. And over the next 13 years, I have done so many different healing modalities that have helped me in so many different ways. Everything from talk therapy to craniosacral work to EMDR to spiritual healing, shamanism. I've done and tried everything in my healing journey, and all of it has played an amazing place, right? My faith has grown in a way to understand that God was not to blame for the things that the cult leader did to me or to the others, because God gets a bad rap when you've been abused in the name of God, right? And so I had to figure out what faith meant to me. I had to reestablish my relationship with God and the universe and understand what that meant for me. And that was a huge journey for me. And so it's been, the last 13 years that I've lost that 100, or not lost, but released that 100 pounds. I'm the healthiest, happiest version of myself. And now in the last couple of years, I've made the concerted effort to say, now it's time for me to give back. It's time for me to share hope with others. And that's when I became a certified health and life coach, and also a spiritual mentor. And I've been a massage therapist for 16 years, but it all kind of just works in connection with the body, mind, and spirit, detox and that I get to do with clients. So.
Wow, that is so many things. Where as you were going through, and you said you tried all these things and they all worked. Was it like, okay, I'm going to try this. I got part of the way, but now I'm kind of feeling stuck. I need to look at this. Or was it like a bunch of different options, and you're like, okay, I've got, what it's like going to Baskin Robbins ice cream, assuming that you've ever been in one of those, and getting different ice cream flavors. What is that? Probably not the best analogy.
Right.
What was that like for you?
It kind of organically, just like you said, I would kind of reach a place where I was not making any further progress with that modality. And then it was like the universe would just open up, either with a continuing education course, with my massage, and I would be exposed to something different. Or in a communication with somebody that I was sharing with and being open with, somebody would say, hey, I have tried this. And so just organically, it kind of moved from one modality to another. And certain modalities helped me get to the next level, right? It's like an onion, peeling the trauma onion, right? You peel back the layers, and as you peel back the layers, it requires you to go deeper. And talk therapy just couldn't get me to the deeper levels of releasing some of that trauma, because it is stored in your body. It is stored at a cell level, that trauma is, right? And so I needed other modalities to help me to heal and to be open enough to allow healing in those, secret places. And so that has just organically taken me from one modality to another.
That's a big thing that you just said there, because you obviously had a mission to. It's like, okay, I'm going to shift. Somebody hasn't gone through and had the experiences that you've had, but is looking to have some sort of transformation, whether it's just mindset, career, relationship, whatever it is. Sometimes we try things and go, yeah, that didn't work for me, go back into some sort of comfort zone. I don't even know if you had a comfort zone to go back to. So it just that awareness of recognizing when you're requiring a pivot and just paying attention to something else that's going to be, open the door for you to another self-awareness, self-growth sort of journey. I think that's really just important for people to recognize on their own journey as you're going through. A lot of times we just keep looking at a door that constantly is closed, and we don't turn around and see there might be a few more open over there that just may have what you want. They might not. You don't have to choose them, but if you never
Right.
turn around.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
commitment that I made once I realized that there was somebody worthy of healing inside of me, that commitment was made for the rest of my life, right? Like there's never an end zone or an end game. Like I never am going to finish this healing journey. And as I continue to grow and develop and have self-awareness and have self-love, I continue that journey. So I'm never there. Like you don't have an arrival point. It's not like ding, 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 you win. No, there's, that doesn't exist in the commitment to self-care and self-love and self-awareness and self-development. And you will, when you make that commitment, you will outgrow things that no longer serve you. And that has happened, and that's been very painful in my life. That led to divorce for me, right? Because I outgrew my first husband. And so that was very painful, but it was also very freeing, right? When you realize that's okay. Life doesn't end because you've had disappointment or you've had heartbreak or you've had any of those things. The commitment to self-development does not exclude you from pain. It just means that you will have the tools, the resources, and the confidence to continue onward. And so that has been my ongoing commitment.
Yeah, that transformation within, but I love the committed decision to like continue on, lifelong. I coach people in the health and fitness space, and a lot of times we don't look at this commitment thing because we look at this. I'm on a diet until I can get off the diet. I exercise until I don't exercise. I'm ready for the wedding, ready for the vacation, ready for the thing, because sometimes I got to get uncomfortable to do this exercise, or doing this. I sustain it for lifelong stuff. I don't know, but not having that visualization of who I'm being now, so I can, become to whatever that. Let's say we won't use the word end result because you were saying there is no end result, but the next. Let's say, as my friend Leanne would say, the next base camp to get there. And once you reach the top, you'll see like, oh gosh, there's other places to go and grow and thrive. So I love that. That's brilliant. So through these shifts and through your own journey, is this the time where you feel back and you're like, I am going to serve others, and here's how I'm going to do it? Are we at that point, or are there some other things?
Right. So that has been an evolution in itself. I've always had a servant's heart. I've always enjoyed serving, whether that was through church or through, Habitat for Humanity, or I've always had a servant's heart. And so I've found ways to volunteer, to share, to nurture. That's always been a thing for me. It's just, it feels like innately part of who I'm supposed to be. And so that has kind of followed me as I've grown in myself and in my awareness and in my my healing and in my transformation. Just this overwhelming desire to share with others so that they can find that healing, or to find the confidence and the self-worth to understand that they deserve that transformation or they deserve that healing. And so that's been an evolution for me. And it's just been in the last, I would say, 2 years that I've really said, okay, it's time. I have my voice. Because the story you're hearing today, I understand to you sounds very like matter-of-factly, right? But that's because now that trauma no longer defines me. that trauma no longer lives in me and emotionally controls me. So for me, now that is part of my story. It will always be part of my story, but it's not who and what defines me any longer. I'm defined by who I'm becoming in this very moment, because only this moment really counts.
Yeah, yeah. Well, congratulations on working through that, releasing the 100 pounds. How do you feel now? I mean, how is
I
life for
am
you?
literally the healthiest and happiest that I've ever been. But again, it's not without the pain that has gotten to get to this journey. So I don't want people to think like, oh, she just snapped her fingers. No, this has been a 19-year journey since, I got out of or escaped the cult. But for me today, I get so much passion and purpose out of getting to share my story and getting to coach my clients and being able to share my faith in order to help others realize, what's inside of them and who they were created to be. I get so much just excitement in being able to do that and having the voice to do it and to support them and to support myself in that, right? And I've found that all of the traumas that I have experienced throughout my life, not just, in the cult, but also divorce, miscarriage, all the things that I have experienced since the cult have all led up to me being able to resonate with my clients, me being able to get on a level of understanding that other people just don't have without this type of experience. And so I always say I have no regrets. I don't even have regrets of the cult, because regrets are worthless energy anyway. So I just know that these things happen to prepare me for what I'm getting to do now, which is helping other people to wrap their heads around who they are, who they want to be, and who they can be, and what they're worthy of.
Who is your ideal client? That the people that do work with you, are you getting somebody that's looking to advance their careers, or somebody that's wanting to just lose some weight, or just somebody that's looking to get through some sort of traumatic events of their
Perry,
life?
all the above. So, that I've literally worked with people that are just learning or wanting to lose weight. I've worked with people that are surviving through a trauma like miscarriage or divorce or, bankruptcy. I work with small businesses to create strategy and support them in their visions and their goals. So it's so huge and open. I thought that I would be stuck in a niche, and that's just not what the universe had in store for me. And I find that there's always something at the root of my clients that they have to reconnect to self and to their worth and to their confidence in order to do any of the things that they're trying to do. And so that's my big kind of motivation, is helping them re-identify with self, re-identify with who they were created to be, what their gifts are, what their purpose is, who and what makes them special, and how that's going to proceed and take them to the next level, which is really cool.
That's really, really cool. How would somebody know that's like, okay, I need this? I mean, obviously, should they listen to a podcast? They're probably driving down the road right now, listening. It's like, but how does your clients, how do they find you, and what is it that you offer? You gave me that transformational picture of the variety of clients that work with you, but what can they expect? Are there different programs that you have, or is this like an all-in-one, I pick for you based on our conversation?
Yes.
How does that work?
I'll just tell you the quick story of how I found my life coach, my first life coach. I was struggling to find my purpose. I was struggling to find I just felt like there was more than working a corporate job, making six figures, which was great money, but I was unfulfilled. I was bored out of my mind, and I hated that people weren't people. They were just numbers to the corporate execs, and I wanted to nurture people. I wanted to help people grow and learn, and I didn't know how to take that corporate career and make it something more meaningful. And so I sought a life coach because I was looking for my purpose. I was looking for passion, and I didn't have that in what I was doing at the time. And so I sought a life coach for that. And that's what I'm finding is bringing people to me is either they've heard me and they resonate with something that I've said, or they're like, that's my pain. Or they're like, I want to figure out who I'm supposed to be. I want to find out my giftings. I want to find out my purpose. Like, a lot of people go through their whole life without ever even realizing they have a purpose or they have giftings that are unique and beautiful and amazing. So, those are generally the ways that people find me, or they find something on my social media that was inspiring or motivational, and they're like, oh, I want more of that.
Yeah. What would you say are some indicators or some things that for somebody that's sitting there and they're like, I haven't thought about what my life purpose is. Well, some people probably don't put the tag on there like that. They just want to achieve some goals. They've got this vision. They've had some programming that they grew up with. You know what? I've got to have a house. I've got to have 2.5 kids. I've got to have a couple of cars in the garage. We've got to have a jet ski. We've got to have a white picket fence. I should be happy. But and that might be, I don't want to pigeonhole people, but what are some indicators that somebody may want to consider in their life going, I may want to explore reaching out to somebody that's a life coach, just to even get on a call to find out what this is about and how it would work for me? What would be some things
Right.
that you would say?
So the first thing is just feeling unfulfilled or feeling like you're pigeonholed in the role or the label that has been put on you, whether that's mother or father or husband or wife or whatever the label is, doctor, lawyer, any of the labels that we achieve in our lives, right? Being a mother is fantastic. Being a father is fantastic. But those labels a lot of times will be all consuming. We will only just be mother because it's a needy position, right? Or we'll be a doctor and a mother. And so we don't have any other role or identity outside of doctor and mother or, housewife and mother. Like those are such important jobs, but it becomes our identity. And so one day we wake up and we're like, aren't we more than just a mom? Is there more to me? And that was what happened to me about 5 years ago. As I woke up and I was like, okay, I've done all this work, but am I more than this corporate exec? Am I more than a mom? Am I more than a wife? Am I more, and the answer is yes, I was. I was a lot more than that, but it took some really big life-altering decisions in order to release me in a way that allowed me the bandwidth to, progress and develop into those new roles. So that's that. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it does. As you're talking about the mom, the corporate drone, the execs, whatever. I think given your upbringing in the environments that you've been exposed to, as we say these titles, you have a story built around those roles, and you will live up to supposedly live up to those roles or the things that are supposed to be lived up to. You say mom, well, these are all the things mom things are, and we make it so, but really does that all have to be that way? But a lot of it is we know what we know what we've been exposed to, we see what's been advertised to us on TV or magazines, whatever. So I aspire, but sometimes we see things that really aren't necessarily true. My world's very different from what that lady's doing on TV or whatever it is, or guys, whatever. So yeah, that did explain it well. What are the what are the sort of things that, as a life coach, you've got obviously some really great tools and things that you've been certified in that you provide for your clients. What are those things that you've created or
so for every client it's very individualized because there's not two clients that have the same backstory, right? So I can't coach this client just like this client because they're apple and oranges. They're not the same. So every program is built and for the individual that I'm working with. There, of course, are some things that I can use with all clients, which is the mindset shifts that I help them with, to gain confidence, to gain self-love, to understand your worth, to desire to be a healthier, happier person. But everything else is very individualized for their goals, for what they're, coming from. And so, the programs that I offer are either a 4, 8, or 12 week package, but we also can do individual coaching or individual sessions. That's available as well. It's all built around what the client needs, because I don't want to lock you in something. If you're just looking for someone to get some guidance from and somebody that can relate to you on a level of something that I've mentioned, and you don't really need a package, you just need somebody to bounce some things off of, and then, I work with each person individually and help them with what they need specifically and build the package around them.
Excellent. Now I do have a few more questions, but so somebody's listening to all this and like, oh my gosh, I've got to go and find out now. How would somebody get a hold of you or contact you, or where can they find more information?
So my website's the best place to get that from, or any of my social medias. My website is www.pickwellnessllc.com, and that's PICWELLNESSLLC.com. And I'm also on social media under my name, Martha Kartaoui, or Pick Wellness as well.
Very, very cool. And I'll put that in the lower third. I'll put that in the show notes, all the glorious stuff, so you can have that there. So let me ask you, do you have like a morning ritual that you do of some sort to empower your day? And if you do,
I do. Thank you for asking, Perry. I've never been asked that, but I do. I have a very good morning routine, and I teach this to my clients because it's been such. I came up with it myself. Nobody ever told me that this was important, but it's so important. The first thing I do when I wake up, or when I'm barely awake, is I have a gratitude talk with myself. So I lay in my bed, I pray, I set my day's intentions, and I thank God, the universe, my source, my creator, for everything in my life, the things that I'm going to start my day with. It's to take time for gratitude, because I believe when we start our day with gratitude, that opens up kind of the positivity for the rest of your day, right? Like if you roll out of bed and you're like, you know what, this sucks. I got to go and clean up the garage, and I got to take the dog out, and the kids are screaming. Like, that's going to be the chaos of your day. And so it's really important for me to just take those first moments when I'm, awake to have thankfulness and to pray and to just be connected to myself, but also connected to where I believe my help comes from in the energy force that is for my life, right? And that's how I start my mornings. And then when my feet hit the floor, it feels like that follows me for the rest of my day.
What a great energy surge to your day. Love it. Yeah, I love you know what? I lived up to the belief for the longest time that I'm not a morning person, whatever. And then it was like 3 times to the snooze button. And I realized, you know what? 3 times the snooze button, I could have gotten up and gotten these things done. But you know what? Sometimes it just takes a while for life to ferment to a really great. It's for it all to click, right? Do you have any mentors out there that you like? Oh my gosh, this person's got a webinar or a workshop, whatever. I am in on that stuff, or they've got a new book out. I always go and get that. Do you have any top ones?
To be perfectly honest, reading has always been difficult for me because I'm dyslexic, and so it's just been the last year or so that I've really started being like, no, that was a label put on me as well, and whether that was truth or not truth, I don't have to be scared of reading. And so I've just really started to kind of dive in to finding those things that are uplifting and that feel like mentors, whether it's Deepak Chopra or whether that's Oprah or whether that's Louise Hay. I love her books on self-love and self-care. So I'm just really starting to expand my mind enough to feel like I am ready to read, and I'm ready to find those things that really serve me. Most of it has up to this point has been either School of Hard Knocks or or whether it was something I learned in along the way on my journey of schooling, whether it was in my massage school or CEUs from that, or teachers along the way. But I'm just now getting into really things that resonate with who I am and who I've become.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, I'm excited for you because, there's so much amazing value within books. Whether you're actually reading and doing it on Kindle or whatever it is, grabbing an audiobook. Like, I'm reading a book right now, but I got the audio version, and I play the audio version while I'm reading it. It's like, oh, maybe, I can go right along with it. And then you've got, videos that you can just binge on, whatever playlists you create on YouTube, etc. But wow, very, very cool. It's been a delight talking to you, Martha, and wow, what a story. Is there anything about your story or your journey that's like, oh, we should have talked about that, or there's one more thing I want to mention about that?
I'm just really excited about things that are coming up for me. So I am part of I'm co-authoring a book that's coming out in November, and it's part of the Global Resilience Project, which is an amazing project that the first book came out in 2021, and this is volume 2, and it's basically a collaboration of stories of resilient people. And my story was chosen to be one of those for the upcoming book that's being published in November. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm just finishing up to submit my story for that. And so that's coming up, and I'm just really excited about the future in general. Like, it's, every day is a gift and every breath is a gift. And I'm really excited that I've had the opportunity to start to, open my mouth, share my story, and hopefully it'll help somebody listening.
That's wonderful. Well, congratulations. Look forward to hearing about the launch of that book. And hey, there's a way to help you get that message out there. You can let me know that way. But so appreciate you coming on here, sharing that story. As challenging as it might be each time, I'm sure it gets a little bit easier. And hey, I mean, the growth and the things that you're doing now and the people you are serving, it's not just those lives. That ripples out to people you'll never even meet. So that is just some amazing things that you're doing. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. And Martha, you have yourself
Thank you so much, Perry, for the platform and for having me on. I really appreciate it.
That's another Power Blast podcast in the books. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, when you are ready to recharge your battery, make sure you go to talktoperry.com. That's talktoperry.com. That's Perry. And I want to listen. I want to hear, what's going on. I want to help you in that 15-minute call to recharge your battery and reclaim your power so that you're off and running and creating massive momentum toward your dream. Also, every day I am delivering more motivation, support, tips, and strategies inside my free community with amazing people like yourself. And we are conquering the mindset and the fitness. I do 52 weeks of free training in there. Plus, I coach and I mentor people, as well as give you access to tons of resources and guides. It's called my Upside Down Fitness community because we work on a lot of mindset stuff, the inside stuff. And we're a fun group of people striving to make healthier habits in this awesome chapter of life. So make sure you get in there. I promise you'll absolutely love it. Just head over to upsidedownfit.com and you can get into the group. And hey, you would be an awesome friend if you get over to iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave an honest rating and review for the Power Blast podcast. It helps awesome people like you find this show even faster, and that's who I'm looking for, awesome people like you. That's all I have for this week, my friend, and just to let you know, you absolutely rock. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you on the next Power Blast podcast, and always remember, it's never too late. We'll see you next week.